but the way they presented it to the public reveals them as the true cynics. Mr. Hagen's outburst reminds me of another attitude that stands in the way of reinvention. The tendency to blame the other guy, go on the defensive, close ranks when someone questions your stance. A sub-tendency in this regard is an unwillingness to go along with a new idea unless you thought it up in the first place. While I'm on the subject of unfortunate personality traits, and again, these are not unique to Cleveland, I'll mention the readiness to exclude rather than include. The homophobic anger aroused by the City Council's legislation to create a domestic partner registry is not only intolerant and excluding, it's anti-turnaround. I can tell you that whole once blighted neighborhoods, like New York's Chelsea and Boston's South End, have been wondrously upgraded aesthetically and economically, thanks in large part to an infusion of creative urban pioneers who happen to be gay. These are precisely the kinds of people that Cleveland should be recruiting for its reinvention, not turning away. How do we overcome these unproductive, distracting, energy-sapping shortcomings in our civic makeup? The simple answer came to me recently as I thought about the Cleveland Cavaliers' spectacular turnaround this season. What was behind their run of 24 consecutive wins at home? Why were they playing so well, even when LeBron James was on the bench? A few weeks ago, I visited the Cavs' magnificent practice building in Independence. General Manager Danny Ferry took me into a conference room and pulled back a curtain to unveil the PowerPoints in a speech that Coach Mike Brown had given to the players before the opening game. Heading the list were the words, "Chemistry equals trust." From there, the coach broke down the dynamics of trust. Trust is a two-way street between management and players. Trust among the players themselves. Trust is something to be nurtured, not taken for granted. The most telling message was conveyed by a quote from Ernest Hemingway. The best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them. As we've seen in one thrilling game after another, the Cavs took that lesson to heart, and so should Cleveland. I know it's a stretch to find in the turnaround of a dozen handsomely paid athletes a prescription for a body politic as big and broad as Cleveland's, but the lesson still holds. Trust enables you to get things done. Let's dream for a minute. Imagine the extraordinary benefits Cleveland would reap if the Cleveland Clinic and university hospitals abandoned their ancient rivalry and joined forces to position Cleveland as the world's #1 mecca for healthcare. That would not be a hard sell. Or think about the year-round vitality that the city's great cultural institutions could generate if they became less fortress-like and built creative partnerships with one another. The model is already there in the fantastic University Circle Parade, which harnesses the imagination of some 80 groups throughout the city. How can we build on that? The creation of trust in the city requires three things. One, as Hemingway said, start trusting. Two, find, demand leaders who can build on that trust. As Mike Brown told me a few days ago, trust is a very fragile thing, especially when you're dealing with people whose egos can be as big as their physiques. Trust is something you have to work at every single day, he said. It's easy to go off the rails. Three, galvanize trust around a vision, a set of goals for which there is a demonstrable need and toward which everyone can work. With the Cavs, the goal is crystal clear: win games. With Cleveland, the vision must begin by asking and answering some fundamental questions. I'm missing a glitch. Well, this was the first important point I wanted to make about building trust, is to open doors for new leaders. And I think that Cleveland has been derelict in clinging to old leaders too long, in not establishing mentor channels for young people to move forward. And I think people, in my experience in recent years, young people have a far better understanding of the realities of today than their elders. It's worth remembering that Barack Obama didn't emerge out of a hat fully formed. He had some powerful, helpful mentors along the way. In recent years, Cleveland has put investing in bricks and mortar ahead of investing in brain power. I wonder whether the hundreds of millions of dollars that it will cost to build a medical mart and convention center might be better spent on improving educational opportunities for tomorrow's Clevelanders. Here's another priority. Given our region's immense natural assets, the abundance of fresh water, of wind, of abandoned or underused land, how can we lay the groundwork for a sustainable city in the 22nd century? It was good news to open this morning's Plain Dealer and see that priority on the county's wish list of federally assisted projects. Here's another consideration for the long range. Is there one big, internationally eye-catching project that will rebrand Cleveland as not just a city with a gritty past, but one with a glittering future? How about starting with an international architectural competition to convert Burke Airport into a multi-use mini downtown on the lake, much as New York has done with its Battery Park and Lower West Side, and London has done with its Canary Wharf? Finally, let's take a page from the past. The United States green card is still the world's most desirable currency. Are we doing enough to attract foreigners with both the money and the brains to invest in Cleveland's future, just as we once imported thousands of skilled workers from Europe to make the hundreds of products that made Cleveland rich? In the absence of a large vision, Clevelanders are already embarking on valuable initiatives that might just pay off in large ways. Let me mention a few of them. One is a faith-based initiative led by Dean Tracy Lind of Trinity Cathedral to use the power of the pulpit throughout all the city's faiths, Protestant, Roman Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, to galvanize thinking around the creation of an environmentally sustainable region. Interestingly, some of our boldest new ideas are coming from our smaller neighbors. I'm very encouraged by the initiative that many of you heard about in a recent City Club forum, an economic development strategy proposed by Congressman Tim Ryan of Youngstown and Congressman Jason Altmeyer of Greater Pittsburgh to convert the historically contentious corridor between Cleveland and Pittsburgh into a new collaborative tech belt, capitalizing on the region's outstanding educational, technological, and cultural assets. This is a perfect example of the clustering mentality identified by Richard Florida in his recent book, Who's Your City?, that is redefining our notion of where we really live. And then there's my own initiative, a proposal to establish a new interdisciplinary master's program in journalism and communications at Case Western Reserve. We're calling it the Great Lakes Center for the New Media, emphasis on Great Lakes and new, to give it the widest appeal. Stay tuned. One of the key things that the Cavs realized in their pursuit of trust was that they had to get to know each other better off the court. They had to dine together, spend time with each other's families, hang out, care about each other more. And they do, Mike Brown said. These guys really like each other. We have to get to like each other. The working title of my book is The Hidden City, because I believe that Cleveland has become hidden not only to the world, but to its own best self. Clevelanders of all stripes and shades, east side, west side, south side, simply have to get to know each other better. In my research for the New Yorker article, the most powerful thing I realized about the Cleveland Orchestra was the uncanny sense of trust among the players. As I wrote about one performance, what began as quiet, simple scales, like a child warming up, soon became a wraparound tapestry of sound, 100 musicians humming along with such apparently telepathic awareness of one another that they seemed to be inside the same skin. Back in that earlier downtime, my father took a big risk and came all the way from Philadelphia to make a new life inside Cleveland's skin. 2 years ago, I did the same thing. Come back inside. Join me. Thank you.